Hey everybody, Keith Dotson here, and in this video, I'm comparing black and white test prints on 5 different matte surface fine art papers from Canson Infinity. Canson has made high quality artist papers for hundreds of years in France. In fact, here the package says it's manufactured since 1557. In this video, we'll be comparing 5 papers: Aquarelle Rag 310, Rag Photographique 310, Edition Etching Rag 310, PrintMaKing Rag 310, and Velin Museum Rag 315. Several of the papers are mold made. They're all made of cotton, and none of them contain any optical brightening agents. I used Canson Infinity's ICC profiles and the recommended printer settings, which calls for the velvet fine art paper selection and matte black ink. I printed these with relative colorimetric setting selected and black point compensation checked. I bought a sample pack of 8.5 by 11 inch papers, which includes 2 sheets of each paper. Since there are 2 samples of each paper, I printed 2 of my black and white photographs at 6 by 9 inches on each paper sample. I recorded the video on my iPhone under controlled light, but even so, don't expect the color to be precise. I got it as accurate as I could. This is the same picture of 2 old trucks that I've used in all my previous photo comparison videos. But since there were 2 sheets of each paper, I also used this landscape photograph shot in New Mexico. Before I show the Canson papers, let me show you my baseline. This is the Hanamula Photo Rag Barita. Of course, this is a coated paper and very different from the watercolor papers we'll be seeing today, but it gives me a sense of the sharpness and neutral color of my photograph. I know I can count on this paper to represent my images well. I use it all the time. Pay attention to this area of the sky. I think I must have done an extra burn along the top edge, which looks great to me here, but makes a difference in the Canson prints we'll see later. We will look at each paper separately, and at the end of the video, we'll see them all side by side. Okay, let's jump right in with the Velin Museum Rag, which I have to say is a gorgeous paper. And for a matte watercolor paper, this holds details and tones really well. Paper prints slightly worn, but not as much as some of the others we'll see. There's a faint gray detail in these shadows that held up. And there's another one here. Look how crisp all these little details in the foreground are. Here's a look at the texture of the Velin Museum Rag. Just the look of it makes your photograph seem like a piece of art, doesn't it? Again, the details and the tones are so beautiful. The Velin did a great job on this photograph. The Velin Museum Rag was also one of my favorites on reproducing the landscape photo, but the top of the sky is a little strange. It's more pronounced in the other papers, but almost like a color shift. I don't like these kind of unpredictable results, but if not for the darkened area of the sky, I'd be super thrilled with this print. Next, we'll look at the Aquarelle, a well-known brand among watercolorists. To my eye, the Aquarelle is nearly indistinguishable from the Velin in most regards, but the Velin held tones slightly better. And then there's this, a gloss differential on the printed surface. The Velin did not have that. I don't think I've ever even seen that on a matte sheet before. Let's see how the Aquarelle handle the landscape. Oh man, yeah, that color shift in the darkened sky is really glaring. If I hadn't burned the sky though, I'd love this print. But again, referring back to my Honolulu photo rag image, it didn't look like that. Look at the crisp details in that mountain. Next, we'll look at prints made on the PrintMaKing Rag. I think this photograph of the old trucks looks great on this paper. Again, the landscape looks amazing on this paper with crisp details and nice tones, except on this paper the burned sky looks particularly harsh and obvious. Our next paper is the Rag Photographique, the matte companion to Canson's famous and popular Brighta Photographique, which I have discussed in previous videos. I have to say, this is my least favorite of all these matte papers. It's so warm it almost looks like it's got chocolate brown tone. And look at that gloss differential on the printed surface. This is by far the smoothest of all the papers shown today. Look at that sky. It really shows up as a glaring mistake on this paper. This is a really nice paper if you want a smooth matte surface, but it definitely needs to be tested and understood to use properly. And our last paper is Edition Etching, which has a distinctive texture compared to the watercolor papers. Not quite as chocolatey as the Rag Photographique, but definitely brown. The sky is terrible on this one, but if not for my bad editing of the sky, this would have been a lovely print. Now just for kicks, we'll quickly look at the Edition Etching side by side with the Hanamulla Photo Rag Baryta, which of course is a glossy paper. And now, as promised, we will look at all the Canson fine art papers side by side. Well, I hope this video is useful to someone. These matte fine art papers are brilliant. Just learn from my mistake and be careful with your edits before you print. Thanks for watching. You can see more of my work at keithdotson.com.